Here we have the site of one of the remaining locks from the temporary Cosgrove Canal. This used to take the canal from Old Wolverton, Milton Keynes up to Cosgrove before they built the iron trunk, better known as an aqueduct. It used to go down the hill from Milton Keynes to the River Ouse in the valley there at the bottom. They used to cross the Ouse, then climb the locks up the other side, and then continue on what is still now the main Grand Union Canal from Cosgrove up towards Stoke Bruin. This is what's left of this lock. This is lock number 2. Number 1 being nearer to Old Wolverton, Milton Keynes, which is now behind us. Which I'm just going to have a little wander along here and see if we can find anything of. There you can see the old brickwork over there. The lock gates. Steel lock gates, interestingly. Let's have a wander further back up the hill here and see what else we can see. Just here on top of the hill, that's the Grand Union Canal, headed towards Milton Keynes and Old Wolverton. That's heading towards Cosgrove and the aqueduct. And I can only imagine at some time or other, this is where we locked off down towards them locks that we've seen. I can't see anything else up here that's any remains of any old locks or cuttings or anything like that. Industrial area now. But yeah, this would have been the canal then. There would have been a lock here dropping you down this hill through this hedge line. Me and Bud have discovered that there's some brickwork there. Is that one of the old treads of the canal lock? You can't see a lot else. And there we are, back down at the lock. Old blue brick of the lock wall. Yeah, it's always worth having a little poke around, isn't it? History. So much of it about. Found this by accident. So we're walking on what would have been at one time or other the towpath. There's some old lock gates. Just randomly lying there. Let's go over here and have a look at where it would have joined up with the River Ouse. Right, gives you a bit of information here on crossing the river. 1800 to 1805. You've got the 4 locks down, across the river, 4 locks back up, Cosgrove Lock. But they built their first masonry aqueduct that was ever built, and they built it across the river. But then a bit later on in 1805, the aqueducts collapsed, so they had to reopen the locks. Luckily they were still there to reinstate the traffic, so the traffic could get through. And then in 1808, the temporary canal and the locks were closed again, and the second river crossing was opened, known as the Iron Trunk, opened in 1811. And the locks were abandoned again, and then traffic commenced going straight over the top of the river. Clever people back in the day. It's amazing. But that's the canal bed coming down from those locks that we've seen. And then it used to go out there. There's the river. Let's just wander back round here a little bit so we can give you a better view. So there's the river there. and that's where the canal would have come out. The boats crossed the river, and then 4 locks up the other side onto the embankment into Cosgrove Lock. I'd imagine in the winter when there was a flow on, that was a bit of a tricky crossing. I mean, it's a steady trickle now, but knowing what rivers get like in the winter when it goes into flood, I bet that was interesting. But of course now we've got the Iron Trunk, as we now know, opened in 1811. It's the second crossing, because the first one, the masonry one, first ever one built, didn't survive for whatever reason, so they went back to using the locks, which had become derelict. It's only ever temporary canal, it's always called the temporary canal. They went back to using those locks while they then constructed what they call the Iron Trunk, which is up there. We'll go and have a look a little bit closer, and we'll have a look from on top of it. It's just along there somewhere is our boats, where we're tied up there ready for the Cosgrove Festival this weekend. Now if you can hear this humming below my feet, there's pumps in here, pumping water out the ooze. Up there's a pipe system up there, through that shed there where the electrics is, and it drops in the canal at the top. So that's the feeder for this section of canal. In amongst the graffiti, that does say River Ouse pumping station. Now if we rejoin the footpath and head back up towards the aqueduct, the Iron Trunk, we're going to have a closer look, shall we? Now that is the footpath that goes under there, but showing the way. Just show you over there, look. Bit of a better look at the aqueduct, all bolted together, sitting on its masonry pillar. Yeah, right feat of engineering. So this little tunnel under here, it's about 5.5 foot tall, because I can't quite get through without ducking. There we go. That's us now the other side. That's the water from the pumping station being pumped into the canal. And we can walk back down here to the footbridge. It takes us over the aqueduct. As that says, look, the oldest broad canal iron trough aqueduct, opened 1811, the 4th attempt by the Grand Junction Canal to cross the Great River Ouse. There's a reconstructed picture of them crossing the River Ouse there at the bottom of the locks. If you want to know any more about the Iron Trunk, it does say there, look, find out more about the Iron Trunk at www.canalrivertrust.org.uk. Worth having a look. Here we are on top now, and you will notice this side's got the footpath. This is the channel for the boats to pass through, and that side, look, it's just a lip. It's literally the edge of the trough. Always looks a bit daunting when you go over on your boat, you look down that side. It looks a long way down. There's the river below. A spectacular view it is and all from up here. But yeah, just down there in the distance, where that sort of collection of bulrushes is down there, that's where they would have crossed. Boats would have come down there from your left, gone up there to your right, climbed up this hill, and then rejoined this bit of canal here and gone up to Cosgrove Lock, which is just at the very end of here. As far as your eye can see, you might just make out the white lock beam, and that's where they would have carried on their journey up through Northamptonshire, Braunston, Warwick, Birmingham, or Coventry, Birmingham, whichever way their route was taking them, and to the north and beyond from there. And looking back, that's the journey south into Milton Keynes.